Welcome back. Well, today we're going to do a little more in the basement of the Fancy Schmancy Antique Mall. And by the way, this isn't the entire basement. It's just a little more of it. I'm probably going to have to finish this up next week. The basement is very big, but there are a lot of goodies to watch. Now, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, I'm playing with a new light. So let me know if you like this one. If you don't, it's got something like 4 settings. And someone told me on yesterday's video that it made me look a little blue. So I appreciate the feedback. Really, I do. If I look blue, I'd rather you tell me than just, snicker behind your hands. So tell me what you think of the light, and I'll try some different settings. I actually like this a lot. It's much smaller, and it's much less enticing for the cat, which is, well, in my house anyway, that's a big deal. Okay, so we are going to get started when we come back. Almost forgot to mention, here is our stolen necklace. So this is the stolen necklace giveaway program too. So here you go. I just thought it was really pretty. As you know, if I had paid for it, it would have been $4. So it's not a very expensive piece. There was a little pair of rhinestone earrings pierced, just tiny rhinestone posts, which came with it, and I will include it, and I will indeed pay for the necklace, so you don't have to worry about trafficking in stolen goods. But it's going to be a quick giveaway, so let me know in the comments. I will pick the winner today, and I will get back to you by responding to your comment. So just say, I want that stolen necklace. All right, let's get going. After I stole the necklace, I went over to take a look at the clothing. And because of the way I entered the clothing, there are a lot of ways you can enter this section of the basement. Usually I go into the shoe section first. This time I went into the dress section first. So let's... Okay, clothing. I grabbed a few interesting dresses. I like the trim on this. Definitely from an earlier period. This one is probably 1970s, I'm going to say. And here's the black on the bottom of the skirt. This, very interesting. Hard to say on that. The style looks 80s, but the skirt length is saying 70s to me. Everything is here. Look at this. Is that wild? And then right over here to sort of vintage house dresses. This is absolutely where I would go if I wanted to grab something to restyle. Oh, let's get that out. Okay. This has a very interesting skirt. Let's see if you can see the lines of the skirt. The front and back are shorter than the sides. That was a style that was popular in the 20s. This is not a dress from the 20s, but this would be a very interesting piece to remake. Now, prices for these dresses were all over the place. I saw pieces starting at $5 or $6, going up from there. I would imagine it's usually the case that the fancier dresses command the higher prices. It's interesting because in the vintage clothing market, if you're buying for yourself, it's the less fancy dresses that you'll get a lot more use out of. So they are the better bargains anyway. You take one of these beautiful silver or gold lame things, and it's like, yeah, you're going to end up paying more for it, and you're only going to wear it once. So I'm not sure where the bargain is on that. Although I will say that if you're going out somewhere and you don't have a fancy dress in your closet, boy, this is how you do it. You just go find something at a thrift store, wear it for the party, and then, donate it again, or let it, this is what I do, let it sit in the back of your closet and gather dust. I should tell you that. I went through my closet about a month ago. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I might have, because it left me utterly exhausted. What a process that was. I'm supposed to do this twice a year. We all are. We're supposed to do this in the spring to get ready for the summer clothing, and in the fall to get ready for the winter clothing. And I had put this off for about 2 years. So I had a whole bunch of stuff in there, especially my summer tops. This is what I consider to be a summer top. It's nice because it's rayon, so that means it's decent. It's not like some of the others I have that are just really cheap t-shirts. I plan on keeping them for about a season and then just getting new ones next year and donating what I have this year, mostly because I can be pretty hard on my clothes. I really can. I will go out and do yard work in my clothing, and I'll get grass stains in it that just will not come out. Or I'll decide I'm going to take on a painting project, and then suddenly I've got a stripe of green on what was otherwise a very nice summer blouse. So I have to admit, I'm like that. I'm not easy on my clothes. So I do cycle through a couple of times a year. And boy, I'm still shocked by the amount of stuff I had accumulated there. So don't do what I do. If you go out and you buy a special occasion dress for one special occasion, when you're done with that special occasion, get rid of the dress. Throw it online for resale, donate it, give it away. But it's pointless to keep some silver lame thing that you wore, to some New Year's Eve party you're never going back to again. It just takes up your closet space. So be smarter than I am. All right, when I was through taking a look at the dresses, I went over and took a quick look at the shoes. And one of the things I really like about this shop is there are plenty of places to sit down, try things on, and not just junk. I mean, it's nice vintage and antique furniture. So let's take shoes. We have shoes in abundance here. And we have some lovely chairs to sit in while we're trying them on. Nice touch. Again, prices are all over the place on them. I personally am not a huge fan of the concept of getting used shoes. It's because if someone else has worn them, the shoes have begun to conform to somebody else's feet, and you could end up with foot problems from this. Although, I should tell you this, having said that, interestingly enough, my very favorite pair of shoes was, and I don't have them any longer, they eventually just up and failed. It was a vintage pair of 1940s pumps. I loved them. They were World War II era. They were what my father would have called bluesy shoes because they had little peep toes. He had issues about that. He shared them with me. I don't know what to say. The man was born in the 1920s, and he thought decent women didn't show their toes in public. He also thought decent women didn't wear lipstick. So, there you go. My father in a nutshell. But I did love those shoes. So, even though, yeah, I've done it, the older I get, the more concerned I get about foot care because, you hit a certain age and you realize how dependent you are on your feet doing their jobs properly. Be cautious. Again, you want to do this for a special occasion. You need to get a nice pair of shoes to go to a party. You're never going to wear them again. Why not? If you see something you like at a thrift store, at a secondhand store, terrific. But be cautious and be mindful. If wearing the shoes cause you the least bit of problem, put them aside. Talk to your doctor, do whatever you need to do. But whatever you do, do not jeopardize your foot health for this. So, let's move on before I get way too preachy. I moved from shoes over to the heavier items. And by the way, this is where you can really get fabulous bargains. Coats, skirts, slacks, the wool items. Now, over in this section, we have heavier weight items. Suits, coats. It's a pretty piece. We have a lot of wool pieces here. And it looks like we have some artificial fur. I don't know if we have real fur here. I haven't gone around feeling all of it. Places like this are places you can go to get really good deals on high-quality winter coats, very often with absolutely no need of modifying them or tailoring them. If you are a regular off-the-rack size, you can come into a place like this and get yourself a very impressive winter coat, wool, for very little money. Frankly, a fraction of what you would pay if you bought the coat new. And you'd never get that kind of styling, not at an affordable price today. Oh, this is great. I cannot rave enough about the whole concept of getting your winter coats at thrift stores, secondhand shops, whatever. You can find really nice, really high quality coats at very low prices. And coming from New England, I can tell you, I come from a part of the country where people have multiple winter coats. When you go farther south and you go to Maryland, D.C., places like that where they have winter, but it's not a serious winter, well, nobody from Boston would consider it a serious winter. People don't tend to have a lot of different winter coats. They'll have a coat this year. They may go off and buy a new one next year. They may not. Because outerwear, coats, jackets, they tend to stay in style for a long period of time. And also, they tend to be very expensive, so people don't replace them very casually. And if you live in a state where you're only going to wear your coat for maybe 6 weeks out of the year, which I'm not. Now, when I was in DC, I wore my winter coat 6 weeks out of the year, but I noticed that the locals, the people native to the DC area, would wear their coats for months. They'd be running around in coats when I'd have a sweater on. So I'm not sure that's really true. But I do believe that people who don't wear their coats for as long a winter season are probably, well, they're going somewhere in a hurry. They're probably inclined to have fewer coats than if you are wearing a coat, as you are in Boston, every single day for like 4 months. So, which is one of the reasons we tended to have multiple coats. But they are expensive. Anybody who's gone off coat shopping recently can tell you that. And this is a great way to get really good quality coats with good condition, because the things I saw at the Fancy Schmancy basement were really nicely cared for. Nice coats, name brands on the labels, places I recognize. And the styles are still fashionable. The coats, again, high quality, very good prices, absolutely have many years' wear left in them. I would absolutely recommend this wholeheartedly, because that's an area in the used clothing market where you can save a ton of money. So consider it. Take a look. One of the things I do, this is just me personally, my own eccentricity, I guess, is I will go into the men's section and I will grab men's sports jackets, and I throw them into my wardrobe. In fact, when I was working, that was mostly what I would wear, was a man's sports jacket with the sleeves rolled up, because the sleeves were always too long, and slacks because it was less intimidating for my client population. I did not want my client population to feel like I was, the great authority come in to fix their lives. That's not the relationship I wanted with them. I wanted them to think of me more as a friend they could talk to. And so I kept the clothing on a lower authority level, but it still had to be decent enough so that if I went in to deal with the people, in the upper echelons of the government, I wasn't embarrassing myself by going in shorts and sneakers. So I always did like that, and I would get those jackets at secondhand shops. So, something to consider. All right, now this next item that's coming up was just this really interesting chair and ottoman I saw. This is over in the yard sale section. And I mentioned that they have this sort of flea market. I call it yard sale, but it's like a flea market every weekend. I'm going to have to save that for next week, because it's a large area and I want you to really get a feel for what's there. So that's next weekend. But I did want to show you just this one piece. Well, now, isn't that an interesting... Whatever. That looks like it would be a chair and a half with a matching ottoman. It's a little too small to be a settee and a little too wide, a little too deep. So I am going to assume this is one of those oversized chairs that have become popular recently Look at the way it's upholstered. 2 different fabrics. Nice. Now, unfortunately, I did not get a price on that. And the reason why I wasn't able to get a price on that is because this is, the area is closed. The owner simply let me go back there to film while it was not monitored. The owners of these booths were not there. I kind of wasn't supposed to be there myself, but so things were not necessarily priced because they were not currently available for sale. So when you get to see it, it's just to give you an idea of what they've got going on, because this is on the weekends, and I don't know how they do their setup. I've never actually been to the weekend flea market. I have just seen it in its sort of preparatory stages. But I thought that chair and ottoman was really interesting. I remember, gosh, I want to say back in the late 80s, early 90s, when that style had become very popular. They were just giant chairs, chair and a half they were calling them. Larger than a chair, smaller than a settee. And actually, no, the length was smaller than a settee, but they were usually very deep with high backs. The kind of chair you can just sort of curl up in and, go to sleep in, I guess. I don't know. But I do remember the popularity of those chairs. So I may end up leaving a note the next time I go back in with that seller and just asking them to let me know what the price is on that piece, because it's interesting. They were very expensive when they were new. They really were. And one of the things that I remember about this, and this is 90s, not 80s. They had these pieces in the 80s, but in the 90s, there was a little change, and they started combining different types of upholstery. So you will have noticed, I'm sure, that the back and the arms and the seat were upholstered in one fabric, and then the outside of the arms upholstered in another. That had become rather trendy at the time. I think that has passed out of vogue. I don't see that anymore, but it's an interesting stylistic thing to keep in mind. So I want to close off with this. I went up. This is not the basement, but I couldn't resist. And you'll see why in a minute. They have this wonderful lighting booth up on the 3rd floor. And of course, I wanted to go up there and film because they have mid-century and Art Deco lighting fixtures, mostly shades, but some of them are just magnificent. And I thought, yeah, it's a holiday weekend. Let's treat ourselves to a little bit of eye candy. So take a look at this. We have got to see these. Look at these light shades. Gorgeous Art Deco, streamlined modern. Just, oh, look at that. Deco Wonderland. Now a piece like this is streamlined modern, and you can see the architectural shape in this. Look at those. Beautiful. Wow. Okay, I want them all. Especially that one. Look over here. Look at these pieces. This is just, oh my gosh. Oh, am I ever in love. Okay, so you have an Art Deco home. You're looking for lighting. This is where you need to go. Wow. Oh, look at that. Looks like it could land in your backyard and drop off an alien. Oh. Well, I would say this was definitely worth the trip upstairs. Even teeny tiny little lampshades over here. I love it. Some of these they look like skyscraper profiles. That, by the way, is how you differentiate streamlined modern from Art Deco. The ones, oh, that one is a beauty. The ones that look like skyscrapers in New York and Chicago are streamlined modern. Wow. Okay, I'm thrilled. Now, I did not get prices on any of these pieces, frankly, because I was afraid to. I thought for sure they were going to be horrifically expensive, but mostly because I just wanted to show you what was there, and it was a little side trip away from our basement adventures. Those lighting shades were just unbelievably beautiful. Well, I love Art Deco anyway, I really do. But I think even people who are not Art Deco freaks can take a look at something like that and say, well, yeah, that's impressive. But did you notice the size of them? It was amazing. Some of those shades were probably a good 2 feet tall. I mean, just massive, massive. They had to have come from public buildings. And you'd have to have cathedral ceilings in your home to be able to use pieces like that. But boy, it might be worth it just to knock out the second story just so you could have those lights. All right, so that's what I have for you this week. Remember, I want that stolen necklace. Leave me the comment, and we're going to finish off this giveaway today. So what's going to happen is before the end of the day, I'm just going to choose a winner, and that's it. I'll see if I can let Audie choose the winner. And it depends. Sundays are his lazy days. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe he'll do it for me. Maybe he won't. All right. Little slideshow on the way out, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.